Today I'm headed out to the first Pomona Swap Meet of 2024.
Oh my gosh, it's early. Well, let's go. Firebird seats have never really been all that good, especially after the last highway drive. Man, that was a sore ride. And for whatever reason, the trunk lid on my Firebird, something about it being smashed and never really fixed all that well. Anyways, that thing's got a weird gap around it. I've yet to find an aftermarket lid that actually fits correctly, so I don't know if this is going to be any good or not, but new year, time to start that 5 a.m. wake up routine. We get more done during the day, maybe. This place is kind of funny. I think it used to be an old Hilton, because right up there you can kind of still see the Hilton logo. Anyways, it's funny, the inside of it just screams 80s. It's comfy though. It was nice and warm and it was pretty quiet, so there's certainly no complaints here. I can see why it's so highly regarded. Best of all, got a full charge to start the day, so that's good news.
Proceed to Porsche Way, then turn left.
Okay. Well, I'm cautiously optimistic for this deal. Haven't been to this swap meet, gosh, it's gotta have been 14 years. Here right off the bat, we're starting off with a Volkswagen Thing. Yes, that is the venerable Thing. Behind it we've got some random Baja Bugs and Dune Buggies and a little blue Beetle there. So everybody and their brother had their stereos blasting during this whole swap meet, so we're going to have to improvise a little bit and enter me into the equation. The music on the background here in the video will get a copyright strike on YouTube, so we're going to have to do what we can anyways to avoid that. Here we've got a black Beetle on the trailer. When I first walked through the gate there, I noticed that the Volkswagens were all kind of hanging out together right there on the left, so that was kind of cool. They were all in the same area relatively, so to speak. We've got some European cars here. Here's a vintage Mercedes wagon. It's a 1981 Mercedes-Benz 300, it looks like. Kind of a unique car to see here at the swap meet. Moving through the Euro section, here's a Porsche that's for sale. I'm doing my best here to capture the for sale signs in the windows. A lot of cars didn't have any information posted, so I couldn't really get it all on camera, but here's another Beetle. This one looked like the engine was pretty nice and cleaned up sitting back there. I didn't hear it running, obviously, but actually a fairly decent looking car. Interior kind of had a nice tan deal going on it with the shelf under the dash and everything, and it looked like they were using square weave carpet, so that was kind of a nice touch. Here's another Volkswagen Thing for sale here. And then right next to it there's another Thing. That one didn't appear to have a for sale sign in it though. Moving down the Volkswagens, here's another Beetle, also for sale. Kind of a cool turquoise color. I really kind of like that color, especially with that trim on the side of it. Looked pretty nice. Another Beetle for sale. This one looked like the paint was a little bit of older condition. Had some rust showing, but could be a good project. Here's a 89 GMC 3500 dually. That was a interesting truck. A 69 Charger here for sale. They made it clear on the sign here that they are extremely motivated to sell, and they are at the swap meet. So give them a ring and maybe chat. Some cars rolling in there. Here's a Corvette that was claiming to be an original 454 car. Kind of interesting if it was. Obviously pre-facelift on this Corvette here with the nice chrome bumper on the front. Kind of sets it off a little bit nicer, a little more classic of a style than the later model ones. It's a 72 Corvette. Here's a 68 Firebird, advertised as a daily driver. Not sure about the status of the motor in it, but it looked to be somewhat in a fairly original styling there. It's green in color, and there's definitely some stuff going on with the paint. It was pretty checked and weathered, and it looked like somebody had done a brush job, maybe brushed on more paint on top of it to kind of hide what was going on there with the flaking off paint. You can really see it on the side there. It's kind of blotchy where the paint has been applied over the other paint. So yeah, not really sure what was going on with that one, but could be a good project for someone anyways. Here's a 1960 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. This one was loaded up nice and high on the trailer, but did my best to get the inside of it. Pretty clean project if somebody was interested in that. Here's a 68 GTO. Runs good. It doesn't necessarily look too good. The weather strip and window scrapers look to be siliconed in. That was a little strange. Definitely some rust going on with that body. Here's a 1964 Continental. Looks to be somewhat original. Once again, I'm not 100% sure what was going on with this car, but there's definitely some rust showing through on the tops of it. And you can kind of see on the side there's some body damage. So now one thing to note with the Continentals is the front end is all one piece. So it's a little difficult to rework fenders and such because it's all welded together. So here's a 62 Continental. Convertible, I believe. Engine looked to be somewhat original. I'm not a Continental expert though, so take my words with a grain of salt anyways. Just doing my best to describe kind of what I saw. The interior was nice with a nice insert pattern on the seats. I kind of like the way that looked. And right next to it is another Continental that was also for sale. This one was a 1963, yes. Kind of interesting to see what the prices are on all of these. Everyone kind of has their own vision as far as what they want to get for their cars, and who am I to judge what they think it's worth? It's really up to the buyer and the seller. So since I'm not buying or selling, I'm just going to leave my opinion out of it. This Nova had a pretty nice looking interior, definitely in the stock form. Yeah, I always kind of forget how big this swap meet actually is. It was kind of hard to get everything before people started leaving, but that was kind of my goal here. So my apologies if I go a little bit too fast on some of these cars, but I really had a lot of walking to do to be able to cover everything I wanted to see. So here's an older Toyota pickup that looked like it had been redone at some point. The paint wasn't necessarily a show car job on it, but it was decent. Bodywork was a little friendly. Look down the side of it. Kind of had a couple waves here and there, but it was definitely bright red and in your face. So there's that. Here's an international cab over. This definitely looked to be a project, but if you're into the international variety of these cab over trucks, could be a worthwhile one. I'm not 100% sure what was included with it, if there was stuff in the inside of it, but it's definitely a truck held there with a cargo strap. Here's a van for sale, the 76 Ford van, if that's your thing. Just bring some green, I guess. Here is a 67 Camaro. There's pretty lengthy description written up there on some paper taped inside the windows. I didn't get a chance to actually read what was kind of printed on those pieces of paper, but if you pause the video, you should be able to kind of see what the seller was on about with the history of the car and such. It might actually be kind of useful. So I did my best to capture that, though. I think there's a little bit of a story behind this car. 100% sure exactly what that might be, but I'm sure the owner would be happy to chat about it, potentially. Maybe, I don't know. When I took this video, this was right as soon as the show opened when I got there, about 7:30 in the morning. Everything that was in the video I think was still for sale, but that's could obviously change at the drop of a hat, so I'm not sure if all of these cars are still available for sale or if they've been sold off, so take that for what it's worth, but it's interesting to look at anyways to see what people were bringing out to the swap meet in an attempt to sell. Walking down the road a little bit more, we've got some more classic Detroit steel here. Here's a Nova that was up on the trailer. The body kind of looked like it was pretty well patinaed, but all the body panels kind of were the same base color, so that was nice. It all kind of fit together. If you wanted to build kind of a derelict car, it might be a good candidate for that. The white ivory color is kind of unique in its own regard, and the rust adds a nice accent color to it, I guess. Here's a little C10 step side. Had an LS motor of some variety in there. Not 100% sure what the specifications were of the motor, nor did I hear it run, but it looked like it was fairly complete. Interior is halfway decent. It's got the bench seat in there upholstered in some sort of black custom pattern. And the bedwood's been stained or painted black. I'm not really sure there. You can see a little bit of checking on the wood, but it was all there, so there is that. I will say the passenger side door did have a little bit of waviness going on, so I could tell there's been some body work done on this truck. It wasn't necessarily 100% straight, but you know, it's the Swap Meet special, I guess you could say. We've got a Ford Ranchero, it looks like. Buick, I don't want to know if the driver went through the window or what happened there. That looks painful at any regard, but I must sell OBO, so it's definitely ripe for the picking. Mustang for sale. Kind of a custom street rod going on here, chopped top and all. Didn't really get too much information as far as what was done to it, but it's definitely for sale. Here is a 1972 Ford F-250 4x4 Highboy. Anyways, that thing was for sale. Here's a 70s Chevy Chevelle, 24.5. Kind of an interesting sign. The guy was penciling that out in Sharpie, or I should say Sharpieing that out in Sharpie there at the front of the trailer before he stuck it in there before I got the video. So kind of just made on the spot. Kind of nice. Kind of cool to see anyways. This car ran pretty well. The lady had it idling there while it was being wiped off. And yeah, it seemed to run pretty good. Didn't have any weird misfires or missing or any sort of compression issues. So that was kind of nice to hear. There's a 63 Impala for sale. Once again, definitely a project car. Interior was mostly missing. I think that's pretty much sums that up there. Here's some specifications on the car anyways. Could be kind of a cool project if you're into a 63 Impala. As I kept walking, the cars kept rolling in, so did my best to double back and get the ones that had rolled in since I walked through the first time. Here's some 50s Chevys to look at. Nice little old T-Bird, 59. This thing was actually pretty solid looking. Hard to tell, the paint was definitely of the older variety. It wasn't super shiny, so I'm not sure exactly what it was painted with. Or definitely, I don't think it was original, but who am I to judge? I didn't look at it that closely, and it was covered in dew, so that kind of hid a little bit of what was going on there. But it seemed like a pretty viable car anyways. Here we've got an advanced design truck with an LS variant of some sort installed into it. Claimed to be a 5.3 liter LS, but I'm not sure the year or exactly what RPO code that motor would have been. Looked to have a truck intake manifold on it though, so kind of goes with the par for the course anyways, truck in a truck. Got the ECM mounted there right off the firewall where the heater core might go. There's some more traffic rolling in there. Mustang was pretty clean. Here's an Apache, just kind of awaiting instructions on where to park, I suppose. This was pretty cool. Had all the seats and really put the entire family in the back seats if you wanted to. I mean, that'd be kind of a fun truck to take to a good guy's show and go cruise around, I suppose. Missing a little bit of the interior on this one, but actually looked to be a pretty straightforward, clean body. So if you're in the market for a 32, I believe this was. Oh yeah, it is a 32. If you're in the market for a 32 Roadster like this, might be your cup of tea. There's old Packard and 65 Riviera. Here's a 57 Corvette. Fuel injected. I'm not sure if it's factory fuel-y, 4-speed. Anyways, it's for sale. Here's a wife-approved 79 Corvette. I did have to laugh at the model there. Not exactly sure what engine that had in it or what was going on there, but it was wife-approved, I suppose. It's another Corvette for sale. This is kind of all the C3s kind of piled up together there, it looks like. This yellow one, this yellow 70 Corvette, actually looked pretty nice. I didn't really see a price listed on it though, so might be a deal, might not be. Hard to say. Let's give the seller a bit of ring. Got some more C3s here, a C2. For sale on the C2 though, $29,500 for this blue one. And we're gonna pause it there, and that is at the Corvettes, and change batteries. Here we've got a pretty radical looking Jeep there. Claimed to be a 52 at least for sale. For sale or trade, 1950 Chevy with an LS motor. Interestingly enough, it had the Vortex 6000 on it off like a Silverado SS or something like that, but it was just a 5.3. I believe it had 862 heads on it, so nothing super special, but no doubt probably ran decently knowing LS's. Didn't look to be super fresh or anything, but probably just a junkyard special. But hey, no shame in that. The whole truck looks like it's ready for a road trip. The variety of cars here is kind of interesting. Nothing really super nice, but definitely some good candidates for a project, or maybe something that you could hop in and drive from time to time, or if you're kind of crazy, make it a actually daily driver. That takes definitely a certain love of the sport anyways. Here we've got a chop top Chevy, it looks like, some sort. This thing was pretty cool. Not 100% sure what was done to it, but definitely had a certain style to it with that satin green.
Sorry, you cut again?
Deluxe Custom. 49 for $49,000. But there you go. It's for sale. And there's a phone number on the poster, so that helps with marketing anyways. This guy had this Mustang for sale, but also looked to have a fair amount of other cars and trucks for sale there, so I take that for what it's worth, but anyways. That one didn't really have too much information given on this car right here, so I figure, you know, take that for what it's worth. Kind of a later model anyways. I don't know, might be a kind of a fun project if you want to drive it as it is, or maybe make a resto mod out of the thing. Not really sure. Lots of potential there though. Or just leave it how it is and leave well enough alone and enjoy it and drive it around. Here's a 67 and a 55 Chevy. This one was kind of interesting. The body looked okay. I'll leave it at that. There was kind of a little bit of funky stuff going on with it. I couldn't really tell too much, but there's chips around the edges of the hood, and drip rails were kind of, you know, you can see where the lead seam is there on the A-pillars, kind of cracked off a little bit. Quarter panels were relatively straight, but they look to be fairly stock in every shape of the word anyways. A little bit of a ripple here or there, not super straight, but definitely could be a nice driver. I think I'll leave it at that. There may have been a couple bubbles here and there. I didn't really look too close at it, but for right around probably 50 grand or so, that could be a viable project for you if it's kind of what you're into with that kind of color crimson red. Be sweet slammed on a Morrison chassis or something with some different wheels and tires. Here's a 73 Nova for $25,000. $20,000 for this one. '36 Ford can be definitely made into a pretty cool project if you were into that sort of thing. This one supposedly had $18,000 worth of parts included, sitting in the interior. I didn't really take the time to go through what parts were there or really find out any more about it.
All the parts to it are inside.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it could be a good project for someone if you're looking for a '36 Ford. And it had some sort of small block stuck in it with a transmission hanging off the back of it. Not really sure exactly what was going on with it, but it's a car and it's there. Here's a 63 and a half. Gotta note that one half. It's half a year. It's very important there. One half, anyways. 63. Looked to be mostly complete. Not sure of the status of the convertible top, but there's the cover there. Bel Air wagon. This thing looked like it had quite a lot of work done to it. Sitting nice and low, and they clear coated the patina with some sort of clear coat. Advertised with an LS and air ride. It was definitely sitting nice and low, just the way I like it. Wheels were on point. Nice long roof there with the seats inside. You have a lot of fun with that thing. $42,000 is what the seller is asking. Here's an 84 CJ7. Looks like it had a fair amount of work done to it. Got a decent looking truck here with an LS of some sort in it. Earlier model truck. And here's a old body style truck, standard cab short bed. Looks like it needs some work. It's definitely kind of starting to show its age there, but this platform, if you know, you know. It's super popular, and they look pretty good all done up, but yeah, you know, this might be a good start to a project, but maybe it's just a good work truck, depends what you're looking for. But anyways, it's there and it's for sale. I'm not really sure exactly what was going on with the motor in it, or what's been modified or hasn't, but it was there and it drove into the show, I believe. I'm not 100% sure though. 1964 El Camino for sale there. Could be a good project for you if you're looking for an El Camino. $25,000 here for this one, if that's kind of what you're after. The 1960 Ranchero. Not sure what was going on with the body there. It looks like somebody had fun with the spray paint. It's kind of added its own unique flair to the car. We're looking for a vintage Cadillac there, a 1991 Sedan DeVille. $6,000, we'll take it home. Land Cruisers were kind of interesting to see. I was actually kind of surprised how many of them were there. This one looked to be fairly extensively modified and kind of restored. The body wasn't perfect on it, but these things were nowhere near perfect from the factory, that's for sure. I'm not sure if the main body was all original or if parts of it had been replaced, but at any rate, the seller was asking $50,000 for it. It's kind of hard to say if this is a good deal or a bad deal, just based on the lack of knowledge I have of exactly what the status of everything was on it. So it was there and it was being sold for $50,000, so take that for what it's worth. $15,000 for this project sitting here on the trailer with local delivery. Local was in quotes, so I'm sure that has some stipulations to it for sure. Here's a Continental for sale. This one was actually fairly well done. It looked pretty nice. $65,000 is what the seller was asking for this one. Kind of a cool gray on it with a nice black interior. Looks like it had a center console modified into it to add some more creature comforts above and beyond what would have been put in by Lincoln back in the day. But yeah, they had kind of taken it upon themselves to black out the chrome, which kind of adds a more modern style to it if that's your thing. To get a Continental like that as straight as this one looked, of course the doors were open, so that kind of hid the bodywork a little bit. You couldn't look down the whole side of the car, but anyway, it's a lot of work. Here was a 96 crew cab. No information from the seller though, so that was a little disappointing, but the rest of the truck was actually in pretty nice shape. Supposedly a one-owner truck, but yeah, not sure as far as details go exactly what the specs were on it. This 72 Chevy Cheyenne looked pretty nice. It had all the side trim on it, and I think they were asking just north of $70,000 for the thing, so take that for what it's worth. But it looked to be a factory AC truck, and all the stuff for the AC looked to be there, but once again, not 100% sure as to the functionality or operation of any of that stuff. But $65,000 they're asking for this 56 Ford F100 big window. Kind of a rare option there with the large rear window. Here's a Thunderbird that was actually looking pretty good there at the show. I was intrigued by this one. I think that Thunderbird's kind of a little bit of a underdog. It's not many people pay too much attention to it. I mean, the seats kind of pivot around. This is a 64. Another FJ40. This was a 71. Looked to be fairly original. There was all sorts of natural occurring patina around the edges of the panels, and where rock chips and stuff have pelted it over the years, causing degradation to the paint. But if you're looking for an original FJ40, that might be a good option for you. Here's a 68 T-Bird for sale. It's a four-door though, so that was something that you don't necessarily see all too often, but there it was. It was there. All that's listed for this with the for sale is just the phone number. I have really no idea what's been done to the square body, but the paint is pretty good condition and looks kind of nice in that light blue color. Here's a 50 Chevy Fleetline. Obviously a full meal deal. It kind of needs everything and the kitchen sink, but there were some parts inside of it, and the doors were held closed with rope, which is never really that good of a sign, but it is there on a trailer for sale, so it could be somebody's project, that's for sure. 65 GMC Suburban 4x4. Tons of stuff rebuilt. New fresh axle, as the for sale sign claims. Looks like some newer leaf springs, and lifted up like that, it definitely has a presence, that's for sure. Here's a split bumper. Asking $29,000 for it, a 71 Camaro. No other information given though, so not really sure what's going on with the motor or what's been done to it, but looked like it was all complete anyways. Most likely drove into the show, I'm not 100% sure, but I did see license plates on it, so that's usually a good thing. $12,000 for this. Pink slips in hand. I guess the seller has a title. Older bed liner going on with the inside of the bed there, and being a long bed, it probably needs a little bit of work anyways to get it into a short bed if that's your thing. Looks like a fairly original paint that's been clear coated with a gloss clear coat of some sort on top of it. The roof didn't look terribly rusted through, but it was rusty, so there is always that. Anyways, could be kind of an interesting project. Here's a 72 Chevy Chevelle. Was garnering a fair amount of interest as far as that goes. It looked to have some sort of big block installed, but once again, absolutely no idea on the specifications of all that stuff, but it's there. It's in the engine bay. I didn't get to hear it run though, so not really sure of the status of it. If a Chevelle like this is kind of your thing with that style of dash, it could be a decent project, I suppose. This one was definitely in your face with this red color, but pretty clean 68 C10 with some sort of LS variant in it. Not 100% sure. The valve cover covers said Corvette on it, but that doesn't really mean anything. Not sure exactly what the engine was out of or what the status of it was, but it did appear to have some sort of air conditioning system installed on it, so that's a nice feature. Nice little added bonus. Four-wheel disc brakes of some sort, and the interior of the bed was painted the same color as the exterior, so that was nice. And the bed floor was wood of some sort. Interior kind of had a custom bench seat going on with it. It's always fun to look at these cars. Everybody kind of has their own build style and their own variation of how they think the car should be, so that's always kind of a little bit of a surprise, just like this 69 Camaro here with some sort of tube chassis, maybe of a home-built variety, running some sort of cast aluminum A-arm on it with an LS variant of some sort installed. Transmission tunnel raised to the sky, definitely kind of up there as far as that goes. The transmission shifter was way far back, so it means that you're not going to be reaching for the shifter when you're driving with your hands on the wheel, so that's always a good feature. Looked like the body was definitely sprayed with some sort of thick primer. Looks like they've got Kindig handles of some sort maybe installed in the door skins, I'm not sure. But yeah, the primer was thick. It almost appeared to be maybe polyester. Don't quote me on that though. I have absolutely no idea. But just by the sheen of it and the peel, it was definitely a high build of some sort like that. Here's a 69 Camaro, not for sale, but looked to be fairly original. It was interesting to look at, that's for sure. Done up in what looks to be Daytona yellow. Here's a 64 Buick. The 64 Buick Riviera there. Another Buick project. Could be a beautiful Buick with some big bucks. And here we've got a 67 Camaro, kind of done up in a maybe vintage style race car. Judging by the signs there, it's been for sale for a minute. They're all kind of wilted from the sun. It's got some old tint on the back windows and some sort of roll cage apparatus installed on the inside of it. The rear quarter panel lips had been rolled, so they had been pretty significantly modified there to fit those tires under it. I kind of reached my hand up in there and you can kind of feel a little bit of a jagged edge, so maybe they've been cut and rolled. I'm not 100% sure what was going on there, but definitely not factory, definitely not stock. So this might be a better race car than a restoration candidate, but once again, don't know anything about the details of it other than it was at the swap meet. Here's a 1985 Nissan truck. Kind of a neat flatbed take on it, if that's your thing. It can be a very useful utility vehicle there, depending on what your needs may be. Here's a 37 Buick for sale for $23,000. '57 Chevy 150, $55,000. Kind of in that vintage yellow color. That's always such an understated color. I definitely can appreciate something a little bit more of a sleeper like that. This is a little coupe project if that's your speed. Here's a 51 Styline Deluxe. The 327 Turbo 350 Mustang 2 suspension, so on and so forth. Pretty complete looking interior. Could be kind of fun to cruise around in. And some more Tri-5 Chevys. Here we've got another 55 for sale. This one, the seller was asking $74,500 for this one. Interior was a different style on this with the white, turquoise, and black, but you know, it all kind of worked together with the black exterior. It kind of tied it together. If you wanted a turquoise flare, this is definitely a nice way to do it, I suppose. That is a 58 Chevy Impala, in case you were wondering. And that was a 58 Chevy Impala, in case you're interested. It's always kind of funny to see the old style. It's kind of always funny to see the old touches. It's simple, but it worked with the bug screen there in front of the radiator with another 58 there. It's a 58 Cadillac.
What's your name? John.
This one was kind of a fun little surprise. The owner was standing next to it, so. Here's an El Camino, kind of a very vibrant purpley blue color. $31,900 for this El Camino. Advertised as a 1971. Here's another C10. This one was done up with a white exterior and a red interior. Pretty extensive amount of work looked to be done to it. But, you know, it was a fairly complete truck, it looked like, with everything there working for some sort of the word. Didn't look to have air conditioning of any sort, but the heater lines were hooked up, so that's always a good sign. And it had front disc brakes on it of some sort. And the bed had been bed-linered red, so there is that. Definitely vibrant, but it kind of ties the interior together with the bed, so there is that. Fair amount of square bodies at this swap meet, so that was always kind of enjoyable to see. If you're into square bodies, it's definitely a viable platform. This one looked to have later model seats installed on the inside of it with 3-point harnesses with the seat belts built into the seat there. So here's a new body style, regular cab short bed. Looked to have an original V8 of some sort in it. Was definitely dirty and greasy, so that kind of little indicative that it hasn't been messed with a whole lot, so that's probably a good thing. Not fast, just loud. Had 862 heads on it, so I believe it's a 5.3 of some sort. Classic Buick driving through. Not for sale, but interesting anyways. Here's a 65 rusty Ford Mustang for sale. Could be a good project if you're looking for a 65, but ooh, those quarter panels sure looked rusty. Kind of always begs the question, what is lurking beneath the surface? Now this one is very interesting as far as unmodified original cars. This is a Plymouth Prowler and looked 100% bone stock. The seller was asking $25,000 to take it home. Not really sure exactly what the story was behind the car, but it was there and it was advertised as all original. So if you're looking for a Plymouth Prowler that's all original, then this might be the ticket.
Nobody wanted these because they're V6.
Yeah.
This is a great price. Stock. No one's messed with it. No one's messed with the stock. No one's stock. 37,000 miles on it.
Here's another project on a trailer. This one is a 1952 Packard being offered for sale at $5,900. Looked to be a convertible at some point, although now the convertible looks to be permanently installed, so at least until restoration was performed. Here's another FJ. This one also looked to be relatively original. However, it did have some newer seats in it, so definitely not 100% original, but the body might have been a little bit more untouched than touched. This could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Yeah, that definitely looked like it needed a fair amount of work, but it was for sale, a 72. If you're after a 72 Land Cruiser, that could be a good project. We've got this Chevelle here with some sort of LS variant. I do notice the fuel pressure regulator there is mounted to the firewall. I don't believe that that would pass tech inspection if you were to take it to some sort of a track or racing event, so don't quote me on that, but I do believe that that may need a little bit of attention there. Here's another LS swap. This one looked to be a little bit more fresh. I think I spied some fresh head gaskets, so I'm not really sure what's been done to the motor or what's going on with it, but one thing I noticed, though, you can kind of see that telltale blue new head gasket color there. And the body on this looked to be fairly straight for a 1967 Chevelle. If this is your thing and this is what you're after, it could be a good candidate anyways. It looked to have all the trim in relatively decent condition. The chrome was definitely there, and wheels were nice and bright and shiny, kind of fit the chrome accents of the factory styling of the Chevelles, that's for sure. Now, the one next to it, I did notice that there was a scratch in the quarter panel that's picked up there in the video, so keep that in mind anyways. Kind of an interesting detail that I'm glad I didn't overlook. And back to the VWs there. I'm almost done with this section of the show, and here's a project that was definitely a project. Kind of needed a little bit of everything put into it. They had the carpets and seats out so you could see exactly what the pan looked like and the condition that it was currently offered for sale in, and there you can see it in the video as well. And here's another Mustang for sale. It looked to have a black colored interior there. It was being offered for sale at $30,000. Definitely a lifted truck there. It's a four-wheel drive if that's what you're after. Yeah, the amount of cars for sale at this place that were all varying shapes and sizes and levels of work needed on them. Here's a 1960 Cadillac for sale, $70,000 for this one. Had the system going in the trunk, that's for sure. Here's kind of a fun-looking wagon that was for sale. Another C10 project. This one is missing bits and pieces of the interior, but it did have a driver's seat and an engine that I presume ran. It was a 69 Chevy for sale with a step-side bed installed on it. Pretty basic looking truck. Looks like it needed a little bit of everything, but it was a truck nonetheless. Here's another square body, a 78. Interior is blue in color, and the exterior also blue in color with some rust here and there to add different various flares and accents with that patina on the hood and so on and so forth. To me, it looks like some sort of paint stripper may have been applied to it at some point, but who am I to judge? I'm not 100% sure what's gone on there, but it looked a little interesting with just only the hood missing the paint. And the top of the tailgate too, I guess. That was also missing some paint there. Here's another El Camino project, a 1970 variety. Blue in color, it was definitely locked and loaded down onto the trailer. Here's a 48 Dodge project, $5,000 OBO trade. If you're looking for a 48 Dodge, this could be one worth considering, I suppose. The interior had some stuff in it, and the engine was sort of there. Not sure of the operational status of anything, but parts were there, and some attempt was made to present a somewhat complete truck. Obviously missing a bunch of bright work on the front of it, but other than that, could be a project of some sort. Not sure what the status of the engine was. Some of the dash looked to be there. Some of the glass was obviously missing. And some of the interior was definitely missing. This one didn't have a price or anything, but it did have a business card tucked in the windshield, so not sure what that business card was about, if it was actually the owner of the car or if it was somebody advertising their work for the car. I'm not 100% sure what was going on there, though, but and here's a 75 Toyota for sale. Looked like it had been extensively modified to be some sort of a race car, lowered obviously, and some sort of rollover protection device installed on the inside of it, but yeah, not really sure what was going on with it as far as running drivability of it, or shoot, even the certification of the cage. I have no idea, not sure what was going on, but it was yellow and it was there and it was on a trailer, so into the video it went. After working on these cars for so many years, it's definitely interesting to see all the different takes on people's projects, people's ideas, and kind of different states of repair and disrepair, I suppose, on these cars for sale at the swap meet. It was definitely a lot of fun to walk around and kind of see what was up and what was for sale and kind of what the market was asking for different projects, at least at the swap meet. Here is a 77 Blazer project, obviously missing the entire drivetrain, so take that for what it's worth. But it could be a viable project if you're looking for a Blazer of this nature with the wider rear axle on it. '73 Beetle here, also for sale. Not really sure what was going on with this thing. There was randomly some bare metal on it. Not really sure what was going on with that thing. And here is like the biggest project of them all. Another Beetle that kind of needed everything and then some, but hey, it's a project. And this one was 7777 for this Volkswagen. Making my way back around again, it looked like a couple new Mercedes had popped up there, so I went ahead and took a look here. Here's a 1980 Mercedes Coupe. I might have missed it at the beginning of the video, but it's there and it's for sale. There's a 67 Camaro cruising on by. And here is a 2007 Z430 BMW. If you're looking for a little sports coupe in a manual transmission variety that's had a lot of love, but obviously still has some life left in it to give, then this could be your project. But without wasting too much of the internet here, it was time to go searching for the seats and trunk lid that I was after. Unfortunately, after a lot of walking and some more walking and a little bit more walking, yeah, I didn't find anything. Those are pretty hard parts to find, and the seats were kind of a long shot because who has white bucket Recaro seats? That's not just something you happen across every day. And an OEM trunk lid for a first-gen F-body? Good luck. I don't know, maybe somebody has one out there, but it sure wasn't here. I was about ready to leave until I rounded the corner and stumbled into this.
Hey. How much are you asking for your 112? Yeah.
Not much.
Not much?
What do you want to pay for one? Just buy one? Huh?
Not much.
Okay, what's not much? What would you pay for that? Make it happen.
Well, I'm kind of striking out on the Firebird parts. This is not completely all for naught though, because I can't help myself.
Eric. Yeah, my autocross car is down right now, so I bought them for this season. They're brand new. They're 1,800 plus tax, so I'll let them go for 16. 200 tread for sticky. What kind of car you got? This. Ah! Okay.
Well, best of luck to you. The search continues. Ah well, didn't find anything that I was after. That's okay. Man, I always forget how big this thing is. That was a fair amount of walking. Oh, I kind of struck out on everything I was looking for, unfortunately, but at least I didn't walk away completely empty-handed. Better for worse. I'm a bad influence on myself, I guess. At least there's one good deal there. Anyways, the search continues. Thanks for watching, and catch you in the next one.